some of the simple aspects of our reality to become conscious of it, to become aware how these aspects are very decisive for our understanding of ourselves and living a life which is meaningful and fulfilling. That will be very valuable. One of that is the quality of presence. Presence is a very deep and significant possibility in human life. When we are present to that what is taking place with ourselves, when we are present to the moment, when we remember not to go with the pulse of the mind, not to just let ourselves drift away with the train of thoughts, but without fighting, without struggling against it, gently stay with the moment. Then you see that this quality of presence has a tremendous impact, because that gives you, in the practice, as you go deeper with it, a certain kind of mastery over yourself, over your mind, over your personality. Only when you understand the art of presence, then you can see that you don't need to get lost in the role of a victim. You don't need to get trapped in a state of feeling helpless. Why is it so significant? What makes the difference? Of course, the real understanding will happen when you bring it into practice and experiment with it. But what is happening? The first thing is, when you are really remembering to be connected with the moment, present to this, what is now, you are gaining a certain inner distance to that what is taking place with you, taking place within you. And this unconscious and automatic identification with that is interrupted. That means it enables you, first of all, to look at all that what is taking place in you as if you are looking at someone else. When things are happening with someone else, then you have more clarity, more wisdom, more capability to respond creatively and intelligently. But when we are identified with what is taking place, then we are just being overtaken by the automatism of the mind, automatism of the conditioned process. And the second thing about presence is that it's an energetic phenomenon. You are, in a deeper sense, being with the subtle energy process without letting it get caught in the automatism of the mind. When you are just being with the moment, remembering in a gentle, non-struggling way, to watch everything, to mirror everything, then through your presence there is a certain kind of pulling in, pulling up, gathering of the energy. Otherwise this energy is getting dissipated in this thought, that feeling, that reaction, and when you are letting it overtake you like that, after a while you feel tired, dissipated. But as you remember to watch, not identify with it, just now you can also experiment with it while you are listening, all that what is taking place within you. Agreement or disagreement, interest or disinterest, criticalness or acceptance, boredom or interest. Whatever is arising, watch it all without identifying with it. Then you also can see that it is your innermost decision which is also playing a very important role, where you put your priority. When you decide to be present, when you decide to connect to yourself, then it becomes more easily possible when you are not making it into a struggle. Of course, there are many other factors which are decisive in this process of deepening the presence. But as you orient to it and again remember without identification, just be here, be with the moment, be with all what is. Look at everything which comes, but don't go with it nor condemn anything or fight against anything. So this quality of presence is an energetic phenomenon through which you also feel nourished. You also feel that it is working in a kind of balancing process. It is bringing about a natural inner healing process. But as it is in the nature of the inner reality, we have to approach it with patience. Patience because our habitual way of going about it is to change things, to be engaged in something where you are in the doer role, where you can control, manage. And when you are not going into that role, it looks like something is missing. And when you really stay with this remembrance and not indulge in this automatism, it can look as if the ground under your feet is disappearing. Because you as a controller, you as a manager, you as a person who wants to force and change and struggle against things is not asked for in this moment. So that means you have to also face these fears which arise in those moments. And naturally when your desires are coming, and pulls you and says, oh, you have to get that, you have to do that, you have to achieve that, you have to run for that. If you are not remembering just to watch that also, you get pulled into it. And then you are already in a chain of thoughts. That's why when you take time to allow silence, when you take time just to be with yourself, during this period, make it clear to yourself, you are just being indifferent to the game of the world. You are not going to attend your phones, you are not going to attend anything, you are not going to change anything, you are not going to write down anything. Only when you create a certain kind of clear and decisive orientation, you can also go deeper. Otherwise, there are so many things which pull. Some sound comes from outside and your mind starts going with it. Oh, what is that? Is that something happening in the neighborhood? Should I have to maybe look? Just one thing leading to other, and you get just transported somewhere else, even if you are just apparently sitting there. So you have to be very kind to yourself, because you may forget in many ways to be here, to be with the moment, to be just present. So when you forget, take it with a little humor. When you are remembering, then come again to the present. And that has to be your emphasis, not to fight with yourself or condemn yourself or put yourself down or come to a conclusion, oh, it is all too much, I cannot make it, maybe for somebody else, it's maybe some special holy thing for someone else, but I cannot sit silently. You don't need to go into all those things. Watch all this mind, comparing and figuring out and all that, and again, just be. So let your orientation be together with your together with your inner determination and a quality of gentle playfulness combined. Then you see there are many things which you learn during this process, many things you come in touch with, many things which starts clearing up, and many aspects where you see that when you are not clinging to it, when you are not trying to manage it, that what is relevant, that what is significant starts opening up and finding new ways so that you can go about it in a different way. But you have to, in a certain sense, be ready during this period not to hold to anything else. Be ready to discard, to lose the preoccupation with the world. Then only you can relax. Otherwise, the moment you are giving a little bit ammunition, a little bit nourishment to some thought and some concept, you find that it's dragging you into all kinds of things. Of course, you also have to observe the state of the body. When you are not really inwardly determined and want to go carefully, one of the things which can be coming as distraction is a certain sleepiness. when you are starting to relax, then we are often associating relaxation with sleepiness, with sleeping. So the body goes sometimes in such moments to a certain sleepy state. Don't fight against the sleep, but don't hold to the pleasurability of sleep. In these moments, remember, you are taking time to just watch. If sleepiness comes, it's okay, but observe it. Of course, you can also see certain interconnected factors which are decisive in this aspect of sleepiness which comes. One thing may be the nourishment. If you have been eating something before and the digestive process is going on, there is a lighter pull to sleepiness. Or of course, if you have not been resting enough and have been busy and there is some need for rest, the automatic pull is towards sleep. Watch that also, because when you are sitting and resting in this way, that also will contribute to a deeper restfulness, but you have to remember to watch. You have to remember not to go with it, not to fight against it. Sometimes it is also the influence of what you eat, a certain kind of food or drink which you are taking, or medicaments which you are taking, or drugs. You have to observe all these interconnected factors without being hard on yourself, without going into any kind of punishing approach. You have to learn what leads you to light, what leads you to darkness, what makes you more clear and free, what entangles you. And only when you are ready to look from within and set up the real priorities. Because without your deciding to be present, all kind of possibilities are there just to drift away. So together with the decision in a non-struggling, non-condemning way of being with it all is very important. To that, when you add the quality of playfulness and humor, and see that whatever is taking place, during the period of your sitting, you continue to watch. You don't give up. That will be very, very valuable, because the presence, when you allow it, when you take care of it, when you decide to orient to it, will start taking care of you in many ways. You see that it is making a different quality of experiencing the body. The body starts also changing according to that, because when you are present, the energy can go into new areas, new dimensions, which otherwise is not possible, because the mind is always pulling it into the habitual tracks and it gets engaged there. But when the energy is not getting pulled and lost in the habitual tracks, it can rise to new experiences, new perception, new understandings, new experiences. So see the difference between trying to get it all in a logical, rational way and controlling life and trying to manage life just from the head, and the approach of being present, being wakeful to all what is taking place, and allowing deeper understanding and sensibility to happen in your life. so that your doings, that what you live is based on a deeper connection to yourself. And that is what presence will enable. When you are present, you are also getting more deeply, more directly in connection to yourself, in touch with yourself, in touch with your inner nature. That is why in the mystical teachings, the emphasis in learning to be, the art of being, is often emphasized. There is one author, Eric Fromm. He has written a book which is titled Have More, to Have More or to Be. Something in this direction. I'm not exactly sure about the exact title, but something in this direction, where he touches this difference between being preoccupied with having more and running behind this, running behind that, to achieve this, to achieve that, and learning to be with a quality of non-interfering presence. The most significant aspect of presence is that it opens you a different experiencing of the reality, where you see that without your having achieved anything, without your having struggled for anything, in just being yourself, you are fulfilled. You are blessed. That you are inwardly so abundant. And that is the most decisive and significant aspect, that you let it become your experiential understanding. Let it become conscious to you that there is a space in yourself, there is a dimension in yourself where you are at home, where you are without being anybody in particular, without having achieved this or that, are at ease, are fulfilled. And this is very significant when you get conscious and familiar with this dimension of presence, this dimension of being. Because then you know you can go into the game of the world, and the world is tiring. In the game of the duality, there are always ups and downs. Some moments are pleasant and easy, but some moments are very taxing, very difficult, sometimes very painful. And if you are just only being with those areas and don't know how to come home and be healed, how to come to yourself and be disentangled from all that, what otherwise burdens you, you cannot go into the game of the world in a real, deep and creative and healthy way. Only the deepening of the presence, becoming very consciously, deliberately allowing this quality, enables you also to take the challenges and go in a healthy way with it. Otherwise, what you can see is very obvious. There are many people who are going into intense areas, in their work, in their different life situations. But when they are not able to find a way to themselves, then they are trying to force it. That is how alcohol and drugs and all that kind of stuff come into the play. It's an attempt to force apparent clarity, to force a certain intensity and energetic process. But it's at a very high cost because you are damaging the body. You're trying to force it through the chemistry. And that is what I have been mentioning, that when inwardly you are going in a different direction, and from outwardly, if you are only trying to change it, then it becomes a stronger inner conflict. So many people are either becoming victims of their overdoses of these kind of things, because the more you go into it, the more you seem to need it. And sometimes you lose the whole sense and get pulled into the destructive process which these chemical things can do to your body. So we have to see that we carry a great potential, but we have to learn to approach it in the right way. And the presence is the clue. Being present to the moment, learning not to identify with all what is taking place. You gain a new connection to yourself. You awaken to a new dimension of your reality. While it is possible, while that is what makes all the difference in human life, the need for the initiative, the need for the search, the need for a conscious quest. That is also the sense of meditation, that's also the sense of sitting. When we are sitting, we are not trying to do anything in particular. We are only remembering just to be present, wakeful. To be without being anybody in particular. Pure presence, that is the orientation. Just being with the consciousness. And that is all what is required primarily from our side. Because all the other things will develop when there is inner clarity and the inner distance to our identifications, which otherwise can drown us. So when we sit now, remember that is the orientation, to be a watcher, to be present, to be in a gentle, non-struggling way, mirroring everything what comes, pleasant or unpleasant, easy or difficult. With this orientation, we sit the next hour with closed eyes, watching, mirroring everything.